John Parker Wilson, 97 hours away. It's finally arrived.
I know, right? It's tough to think about, but we're here. A little bit of college football being played so far. The big boys teeing up, coming up here on Saturday. So, I can't believe it's here. And just so excited to get started with another Alabama football season. When you're playing Dixieland Delight and kind of going through all the highlights and accolades of the program, if that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what will.
Well, we could really, you could spend time reading off the credentials. Would probably take you all hour. This amazing dynasty that you were part of as you laid the foundation here in Tuscaloosa. Nick Saban, think about this. Who would have said it, and maybe even inside that room, who would have said Nick Saban would be going into year number 12 in Tuscaloosa? That's even hard to even think about.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned it, it really is. Just the longevity that he's been able to have and the success is pretty. The dynasty that he's built is something that not many schools have seen. We've seen it now with two different coaches, but kind of hard to think about. And for him to do it with different coaches, I was actually at practice yesterday and looking around. There's not a lot of coaches, not a lot of staff that was there when I was there. So to do it with the amount of people that turn over and the coaches and players that do, it's just a testament to his process and his philosophy and getting everybody to buy in.
Let me ask you about the verbiage. When you're at practice, not that I don't want you to give any secrets away, I know you're not going to, but do you hear a lot of the same things that he's telling players now that you heard back in your early days of the Nick Saban dynasty here in Tuscaloosa? The verbiage, does it stay the same?
Yeah, without a doubt. It's crazy to think about that as much things have changed and how many, and just, I think we talked about it last week with Barron. We were running a fullback and had 7-step drops and huddle every play. Many things have changed. So many things have stayed the same. And it's neat to be able to do that. And I've really enjoyed the ESPN special, what's it called, Rolling with the Tide, where you get, a really behind the scenes look at what's going on. And they haven't edited that to where it makes it look good. It's raw, it's uncut of seeing what it's like behind the scenes, and to see Coach Saban kind of in that element, it's awesome. I know it's great for recruiting and everybody else, but it's good for the fans to be able to see exactly what it's like to be in practice every day.
John Parker, what do you expect of this offensive side of the football as you travel into this year? And I know we won't really know until we get out there and under live fire, but what do you expect from this offensive side of the football as we go into the final few days?
Yeah, I think our identity will continue to be formed, 1 or 2 weeks into the season. You spend a lot of time doing that in training camp, but, Coach Loxley is going to be calling the plays and figuring out who handles what situation, how to give the stable of running backs that we have ample amount of touches where they're staying involved in the game, but also, trying to give the hot guy the ball. I think we're really deep on offense. If you look at every position, we've got multiple stars that can go make plays. Wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs. I think Jalen Waddle is a name that we've heard a lot coming out of training camp. Deep at tight end with Irv Smith and Hale Hedges. And then the running backs, I think, get a lot of the credit, but the ability to make plays from a lot of different guys is going to be fun to watch. And we've seen the stars, Calvin Ridley or Derrick Henry. I think we're going to have more of a spread approach where a lot of guys are going to be able to go to the ball just because we have a lot of playmakers.
Yeah, and I think that was what was impressive yesterday when they handed us a depth chart, and I guess inside that building maybe it's talked about it's a rep chart, but as far as looking at the weapons, I could sit here, Hale Hedges, Irv Smith, you go through Miller Forstall, Major Tennyson, Kedrick James, you talk about the running backs, Damian Harris, Najee Harris, Josh Jacobs, Brian Robinson, Henry Ruggs. You talked about Jalen Waddle a couple of minutes ago, Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith. You just go through all these different weapons. I would be willing to say, as far as depth with the weapons, this may be the deepest skill position group he's had here in Tuscaloosa, which is really saying something.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And, we hadn't even talked about the offensive line, but
Sure.
We've got 4 guys coming back and multiple guys that have played. So I think it's, for a defensive coordinator, it's going to be really hard to figure out what we're trying to do. I think there's so many different ways we can attack you. And if I'm a defensive coordinator looking at Alabama's team, okay, I'm going to try to take away the run so they can beat you with the pass. If I try to take away the pass, they're going to hand it off to Damian Harris or Najee Harris. So it's really good to keep the defense honest, and I think that's what Mike Locksley is going to have the ability to do, is to dial up a lot of different players in a lot of different situations to get on the ball. And that's what offense is all about, is keeping the defense, off schedule, uncomfortable, and not knowing what to call.
Yeah, and let me spend some time looking at this defensive side of the football. And I know the offense grabs our attention, and certainly that's the position that you played, quarterback for the Alabama Crimson Tide. But, man, you look at that defensive side of the football, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing Raekwon Davis, Isaiah Buggs, Quentin Williams, Christian Miller. I mean, the guy knows the directions of the weight room. We talk about Christian Miller. He's as chiseled out as anybody I've seen in a long time. Mack Wilson, Dylan Moses, Anthony Jennings. He had the confidence against Clemson down in New Orleans. Yeah, there's some new guys in the secondary, but that front seven's pretty talented.
Yeah, it is. And we all know, as many times as we watch Coach Saban play, that it's all about getting pressure on the quarterback and making him uncomfortable. And we got a new guy that we're going against, Jawan Pass, who's the Louisville quarterback, taking over for Lamar Jackson, who was the Heisman Trophy winner a few years ago. So Tosh Lupoy is going to try to make him uncomfortable and take a little pressure off the secondary. And you do that by being able to get pressure with limited guys blitzing. And when you can do that with just 4 or 5 guys blitzing, it's a lot easier for the secondary. So it goes hand in hand. A good secondary always has a good front seven. Just like a good quarterback always has a pretty good offensive line. Defense is no different. I think we've got athletes everywhere. Christian Miller and Anthony Jennings coming off the edge. Watch out. These guys are fast. They're big and strong. And I'm glad I'm not the one on the other side of the ball having to drop back and throw against them.
How do you adjust the mental clock that all these quarterbacks have when you're going from fall camp, when you've got the no-contact jersey, and I assume that's what they're doing up in Louisville, as probably most teams try to protect their quarterbacks. How do you get that mental clock to speed up when you're opening up against a team that's going to show you a lot of speed up front? How do you develop that mental clock in just a matter of a few minutes?
That's a great question. And you try to be on the quick side as opposed to the slow side, because you want to get the ball out of your hand as fast as possible. It does a lot of things. It's good for your receivers getting in and out of the cuts. It's good for your offensive line. It's good for self-preservation as a quarterback of not getting hit by these big guys every play. So you try to speed it up. It is hard to replicate in practice. But I think that's one of the things that makes a good quarterback from a great quarterback, is having that internal clock of knowing, hey, it's time to throw it, it's time to throw it away, or it's time to run it, and just try to get back to the line of scrimmage or try to get a couple yards. And it makes it a lot more difficult when you're getting pressure from the front 4 defensive linemen. And that's what it's all about. I think that's what has been the differentiating a lot of times in our defense, in Alabama's defense, is getting pressure with just limited guys rushing.
We're talking to John Parker Wilson. It's presented by Tuscaloosa Toyota, tuscaloosa.toyota.com, 3325 Skyland Boulevard, and online at tuscaloosa.toyota.com. He's also the color analyst for the Crimson Tide Sports Network. We're the flagship station of Alabama Crimson Tide football. If you download the app, wherever you're listening, you can listen to John Parker and Eli and Rashad Johnson on the sidelines calling the action from Orlando. John Parker, what have you seen from Dan Enos as a quarterback coach?
I think exactly what we thought coming in, and that was being able to develop the quarterback. And there was a difference between a day ball that's a pro guy, where you don't have to do a lot of coaching to Tom Brady, and the college guy. And I love how Locksley is the coordinator and Enos is the quarterback's coach. And that gives them plenty of time to spend with the players, to coach them up, to talk about more than just what the other team's running, but I think about fundamentals and the basics, and that's the things that, build that a lot of times later in the season you don't talk about, but during training camp, it's a great time to talk about it. And I know both of these guys, both quarterbacks, Jalen and Tua, can benefit from having that veteran voice that knows college football. So I'm really excited to see their maturation as we start a new season.
And this is a really crazy hypothetical, but you played on the NFL side of things. When you get to the league, how much does that, and I'm trying to say, at the college level, they're going through a lot of the fundamentals. Is that continue in the NFL game, or is that something when you get to that point, they expect you to know that? And maybe what I'm trying to ask is, you look at a pro guy, Brian Dable coming down, maybe was a little bit of a gap in the basic fundamentals that maybe he just assumed quarterbacks know. You look at Dan Enos, a college guy, has been in the game. You look at Mike Loxley, understanding how to break it down to their level and then bring them up to speed.
Yeah, I think so. I think in the college game, you're more of a teacher and a developer. In the pros, you're kind of a manager. You're kind of, help the quarterback get ready for the game, more schematic than actual fundamentals. And it's something you always got to go back to as a quarterback. And no matter what you're doing, you got to always go back to the fundamentals and build a good base. But I think the separation of duties from offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, I think helps a lot also, just to have that laser focus towards coaching quarterbacks, kind of like the other positions we see throughout the rest of the team.
Wake-up calls, I expect a little bit later on Saturday morning with a 7 o'clock kick, and we've waited 232 days. We'll get to 236, I think, before we kick this thing off. Because the game is so late, because really it's an 8 o'clock tip there, what exactly will the day be like? I assume a little bit of sleeping in, or will you try to get these guys up and try to get them going?
It's a long day. The 2:30 kickoffs are the best. You just kind of get up, normal time. 2:30 is usually when they start practice. Your body clock's used to it. So the game might start at 8, but your body's waking up, and you're waking up early. So you get up, you eat breakfast, you try to get them moving around, take a long walk, and they'll do this as a team. You get a light sweat going you don't want to be sluggish and laying around all day. And it's tough to sit in the hotel and watch other teams when you're chomping at the bit, ready to get out there. So all the preparation's done. You might look over your game plan a few more times, but you try to stay mentally sharp as you can and get ready for that kick. So you sleep in a little bit longer than later, or longer than normal, but it's a tough deal, but these guys are used to playing these late games. All the college playoffs are late, national championships are late games, so they're used to it. And it's just one of those things where if you're a true freshman, you're really looking to the older guys to see what they do to get their body and also their mind ready.
Can you remember any of those pregame talks with Nick Saban? Any walk around the hotel room, maybe the stadium, maybe the locker room? Can you remember those moments? Is there anything out of the ordinary that Saban does with his quarterbacks as he tries to maybe settle you down a little bit, or just to maybe or decrease that anxiety?
Not really. It's kind of when you're this point, it's business as normal, and he's trying to keep it as much like a practice or typical week than it would be. And it is a game, and obviously the senses are heightened and everything, but you're trying to go through your checklist just like normal. And I think he does such a good job of keeping it calm, keeping everybody ready to go, but also getting you fired up when it's time to go out there and make a tackle on kickoff. Quarterbacks, we're a little different deal. You've got to maintain your composure and go out there and be able to make all these decisions as it unfolds extremely quickly. So it's a fine line between getting too hyped up and not getting ready to go. And that's just something you learn over time. And you learn in high school and middle school, and you just carry it on into college.
John Parker, let me ask you, butterflies for the upcoming game for you. Are you developing a little anxiety as you sit in the booth and get ready to call some action as a color analyst for the Alabama Crimson Tide?
Not yet. Right now, I'm still preparing, kind of like I would for a normal football game. I'm sure once I get up there and it's kickoff, just like any other game, I mean, you get them for a few seconds, and that's what makes it fun. I mean, that's the difference is going out there and the I don't want to say the fear of the unknown, but there's a lot of unknowns that happen in college football. I think that's what makes it great. Is anything could happen any Saturday. Doesn't matter if you're playing Louisville or you're playing Auburn or you're playing Georgia. Anything can happen, and that's what makes it so fun. So I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a great game in Orlando. New role with Eli, but the same old Coach Saban coach team that I know is going to be ready to go for kickoff.
You know, we talk about that great dealership. They're winning championships on Skyline Boulevard. We talk about the Toyota Care. We talk about when you buy a new vehicle, 2-year, 25,000 miles of complimentary services, all oil changes, tire rotations are free. The great rental department there. I mean, there's things that we don't highlight enough. And make sure as we approach this college football season, one of the great things they do on their Facebook account is they do a ton of giveaways that include prizes like tickets, helmets signed by Coach Saban, and a ton of other things. They do giveaways all the time. So friend them, like them on the Facebook account at Tuscaloosa Toyota. I'll throw it back to you and let you talk about Scott Peoples and that amazing staff on Skyline Boulevard.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you talked about in the opening was just their website and I'm looking at my phone right now and looking through the specials that they have, whether it's the brand new Toyota 2018 Camry, 0% financing for 60 months, the RAV4, 0% financing for 48 months. There's really no guessing. So when the cars are coming out, you know exactly what's on the lot, which I really like. You can see the whole inventory right from your phone. You know what you're getting. You talked about the service and everything that Scott Peoples and his staff does. I've been out there many times, and I think if you go out there and check them out, you'll know exactly why they're the best. So check them out at tuscaloosa.youtube.com.
John Parker Wilson, enjoy the game. We're excited to hear you right here on Tide 102.9, and certainly we appreciate you being part of the show, and I hope you have a great week, and we'll look forward to recapping next Tuesday. Appreciate the conversation.
You got it, man. Looking forward to next Tuesday. Hopefully we're talking about a win.
Hey, I think we will. But we appreciate it, man. Thank you, sir.
Roll Tide, brother. Roll Tide.